Eldon Ridge's cobblestone streets, wet from the evening rain, reflected the soft gleam of the streetlights. I pushed open the door to the local diner, the bell above signaling my entrance. The ambient chatter momentarily halted, and a few curious eyes assessed me. Having written for some reputable regional publications and hosted a few investigative podcasts, I was used to being recognized occasionally. But this was Eldon Ridge. A town with mysteries that seemed to eclipse any story I had ever pursued. Here, the enigmatic aerial lights weren't just news, they were personal. Tales whispered that even NASA's best were left scratching their heads. Feeling the weight of the town's anticipation, I settled into a corner booth. The soft hum of the diner, the distant clinking of dishes, and the palpable air of mystery set the stage. I was about to weave together the strands of legend, science, and fear, hoping to uncover the truth that Eldon Ridge hid in its shadows. The aroma of freshly baked bread wafted through the air as I, along with a small group of local enthusiasts, ventured deeper into Eldon Ridge's historical archives. The room, located in the town's oldest building, was dimly lit, with only the occasional shaft of sunlight breaking through the dusty windows. Every step we took on the wooden floorboards echoed, adding to the sense of reverence. Anna, a local historian with a fiery spirit and an encyclopedic knowledge of the town, gently unrolled a set of old maps, their edges frayed from time. As we traced our fingers over the faded ink, the tactile sensation of the parchment hinted at stories long forgotten. "Listen to this," whispered Jack, holding an old newspaper clipping to the light. The rustling paper sounded like hushed voices from the past as he read aloud tales of strange lights and mysterious vanishings. In the distance, the town clock chimed, its resonance deep and haunting. It felt as if time itself was urging us to piece together the puzzle. Each new discovery, a handwritten letter, an old photograph, a witness account, was a sensory journey. The musty scent of aged paper, the brittle texture of old photographs, and the barely audible whispers of the past painted a vivid picture of a town both fascinated and terrified by the unknown. Our exploration wasn't just about sight and touch. As we shared our findings, our voices mingled with the ambient sounds of the archive room, the distant cawing of crows, the subtle drip of a leaky roof, and the taste of cold, metallic air that hinted at the approaching evening storm. The evening air grew denser as we approached the ancient graveyard, said to be the epicenter of the town's mysteries. The iron gate creaked open, its sound a mournful song that sent shivers down my spine. The grass beneath our feet was damp, each step releasing the earthy aroma of moss and decay. In the distance, an owl hooted, its call echoing through the stillness, adding to the eerie atmosphere. Silhouettes of twisted trees loomed overhead, their branches swaying gently in the wind, casting shadowy figures that danced over the worn gravestones. A faint luminescence hovered in the air, reminiscent of the very wops that brought me here. The sensation of being watched was palpable, like a cold breath on the back of my neck. As we ventured deeper, the murmurs of the town's residents grew louder, their voices tinged with a mix of fear and accusation. "They shouldn't be here," whispered an old woman, her voice carrying the weight of generations of folklore. The taste of tension was thick in the air, like the metallic tang before a storm. The centerpiece of the graveyard was an old stone mausoleum, its door slightly ajar. As I reached out to touch its cold, rough surface, a gust of wind carried a whispered warning, a voice from beyond urging us to tread carefully on this hallowed ground. The reality was clear, our quest for answers was stirring forces that many believed should remain undisturbed. Under the cloak of an ink-black sky, pierced only by the piercing white of the stars, the celestial event unfolded above us, a tapestry of cosmic wonder. The night air was charged with electricity, every inhale filled with the sharp scent of ozone. We stood in a circle, the ancient graveyard around us now a stage for the unfathomable. The séance began, our voices a soft chant that harmonized with the whistling wind. The ground beneath us seemed to pulse, a faint vibration that crept up through the soles of our shoes. From the heart of the mausoleum, a sinister chill unfurled, creeping like tendrils of fog between the headstones. Suddenly, the world shifted. An orb of light burst forth, its intensity blinding, casting long, twisted shadows that writhed and twisted like living things. The air was filled with the din of 1,000 whispers, a cacophony that threatened to overwhelm our senses. The taste of fear was sharp on our tongues, a bitter tang that mirrored the terror gripping our hearts. In the midst of the chaos, a figure materialized, its presence malevolent and oppressive. Our circle broke, panic igniting as the entity from beyond our understanding surged with a power that seemed to distort reality itself. The night erupted into a symphony of terror, each sight, sound, and sensation a note and a haunting melody of horror. The aftermath's silence resonated with an unsettling intensity. With the first light of dawn breaking, the town stirred to a reality that seemed woven from the fabric of nightmares. The ancient stones of the graveyard stood as mute sentinels to the bygone night's terror. Charged particles lingered in the air, and a patchwork of footprints lay etched in the morning dew, the sole testament to our nocturnal escapade. Poring over the autopsy reports, my heart sank. The sterile language used to describe the end of a life amidst our pursuit of knowledge did little to blunt the grimness of the truth. The weight of culpability bore down on me, a haunting specter of responsibility. However, it was the inconsistencies in the timeline, the mismatch between last sightings and the recorded time of death, that ensnared my thoughts, refusing to be dismissed. A hush had befallen the town, the erstwhile whispers of nocturnal turmoil now subdued, yet indelibly present in the collective consciousness. A shroud of sorrow and unarticulated cognizance that something fundamental had shifted hung over the streets. The atmosphere itself felt altered, with even the mundane scents and flavors now imbued with an inexplicable trace of the other. Wandering the desolate byways, the recollections of an invisible force that had once violently disrupted the peace remained at the forefront of my mind. The sensation of unseen observers lurking in the periphery persisted, unsettling and constant. The enigma of the unidentified aerial phenomena, once a subject of distant fascination, now took on a menacing proximity, a dark conundrum with pieces amiss. We were left grappling with a myriad of unanswered questions. The demarcation between our realm and the one we had inadvertently grazed seemed irrevocably smudged, casting doubt upon the very essence of the natural versus the paranormal. Seated with pen poised, the burden of an untold narrative weighed heavily upon me, and I was acutely aware that our brush with the inexplicable was merely the beginning. The verity lay concealed within the enigmatic folds of the unknown, beckoning the daring or the reckless to unearth it anew.
Survive the tale and crave more. Your bravery deserves applause. Dare to dive deeper. Haunt that like, share, and subscribe. Whispers in the dark or screams aloud, share your thoughts. Your voice guides our next ghostly tale.